Welcome to Kingsmen Software's Beyond the Build podcast. At Kingsmen, we pride ourselves on building enterprise-quality software, and we have the privilege of meeting some pretty interesting people along the way. Come join us to meet the visionaries, the disruptors, the entrepreneurs, and the innovators that envision new technology solutions and then bring them to life. Come join us to hear what happens beyond the build. Welcome to the Kingsmen Software's Beyond the Build podcast. I'm Kevin Carney, the COO of Kingsmen Software, now a Sparq company. More on that in just a bit. And I'm hosting today's podcast from our Bourbon studio in beautiful Camp North End. Joining me is Bill Clarisi, our intrepid CEO and head of AV, not AV nerd. That's your preferred title?
That's preferred, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Say hello, Bill.
Hello, Bill.
So you just recently got back from the Caribbean, cruising the Caribbean?
I did just a few weeks ago, yeah.
On a small boat?
The biggest boat in the world.
Biggest boat in the world.
Yeah, icon of the seas.
Nice.
Yeah.
You had a good time?
It was awesome.
Yeah?
It was awesome, yeah. Fantastic. If you can't have a good time on one of those things,
I
don't know what to do for you. I really don't. Yeah. Water slides, food everywhere.
Buy the drink package.
Get the drink package just for the, not having to worry about it.
Gotcha.
And the shows are unbelievable.
Yeah, they are pretty neat.
Yeah.
Also with us, Rashmila Vamula. Rashmila is the head of marketing, manages our social media and our podcast distribution. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
And you also just got back from a big trip, right?
I did.
A big life bucket list item.
Yeah, it was.
Whoop-de-doo.
Yes, I just hiked Kilimanjaro a couple weeks ago.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. Yeah, life experience, core memory, all of the above.
So you just kind of walk up, it's all good?
Yeah, it was so easy.
Yeah.
It's just a ski lift. There's just a chair that takes you all
we
the way
zip line down.
How many feet up is that?
19,000.
That's excellent. Yeah. A little more than 19,000, right? 19. Yeah. Okay. All right. Big deal. All right. And then a new since November, maybe, like for the podcast. Denise Beachley, my partner in crime here at Kingsmen Software. Denise has worked closely with our AvidXchange over the past 5 years.
Yes.
And I asked you to join so you can help facilitate the conversation.
Happy to do it.
Okay. Now you have a nickname. Some people know you as Madam Tuber.
Some people do.
Now, why would you be called Madam Tuber? Could you explain that?
I am the chief potato in the Les Tours de Couch Potato.
Can you explain what that is?
It is a ride that my family started about 14 years ago that coincides with the Tour de France. You have to ride 100 miles during the Tour de France to earn a magnet that says you're a couch potato.
And so how long have you been doing this?
14 years.
14 years. 14. So 14, and that is going on right now, which is why I bring it up, right?
And I am the only one who has successfully completed all 14 years. My sister may finish.
She may finish.
So far, I am the only one.
How many people participate in this virtual ride that you do?
About 200.
200 people. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah, so, and everyone has a nickname, a potato nickname, right?
That's right.
So you are Madam Tuber.
Kevin is Darth Tater.
Darth Tater. It's a lot of fun. I've done it for the past, 5-6 years.
Yep.
My wife does it. Greg Hart does it. His wife does it. A lot of the folks here in the shop do it too. Right? It's a lot of fun. So, all right. Well, welcome, Denise.
Thank you.
All right. So let me address the elephant in the room. Kingsmen Software, a Sparq company. So Kingsmen Software was just acquired by Sparq. Sparq is based out of Atlanta, and they approached us because they really love our presence in Charlotte. They love our banking and financial service experience and also all the AI work that we've been doing over the past 18 months or so. We, in turn, love Sparq because we get access to their nationwide footprint. They have nearshoring, so we can offer nearshoring capabilities to our clients in Latin America. We can offer nearshoring capabilities for Latin America to our clients in U.S. Does that sound right? Okay. And in addition, they have other services we can offer too, like they have, full practices of data engineering and DevOps and user experience and things like that. So we get to offer those to our clients as well. So we're really excited. Seems like a good fit. We're still, 2 weeks into it?
Almost three.
Yeah.
Almost 3. So we're still trying to test the waters, but we're all excited to start the next chapter. So that should be fun. And hopefully we can keep the podcast going. All right, finally, we're like 10 minutes in. Now we're going to talk to Angelic. So our guest today is Angelic Gibson, CIO of AvidXchange. Welcome.
Great to be here.
Finally got you going. Your mic does work. Full disclosure, everyone, Avid is one of our key clients, which is a great reason to have you on the podcast. But I just want to make sure people know that that's out there. We've been working together for over 5 years now?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, since you joined. You were instrumental in having AvidXchange go public, which is a huge deal.
That happened in 2021.
Yeah. Okay. So we got to see you ring the bell at the NASDAQ.
Yeah, that was cool.
Or at your AvidXchange headquarters.
Yeah.
And the NASDAQ came down to you, right?
It's the first time in history. NASDAQ went on the road because of our fearless CEO, Mike Prager. He can convince anybody to do anything. And so literally the NASDAQ desk was flown to Charlotte, and all major networks came in, set up camp at AvidXchange and the Music Factory. And we were the first company ever, and still the only company, to actually go public in our home office.
That's amazing. Fabulous. So as if going public wasn't a big enough deal, you had to make it even bigger.
Of course. That's right. Have you met Mike Prager?
That's pretty awesome. But you were right there ringing the bell.
Oh,
That's
yes,
great.
I was.
Yeah.
I almost hit it on behalf of Mike because I was so excited. But it's a pause right before his hand went down.
You should have jumped in. That'd be great.
Can I tell you another little secret about Angelique?
Oh. Does she have a tour to couch potato name?
She does not,
No,
but
she needs one.
I heard a rumor that she was on Icon of the Seas not too long before Bill
what?
Clarice was.
I broke in that ship for Bill.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, ran much smoother.
Yes,
Plus, I got some good intel about what to do, what not to do, where to go, how things were working. So it was fantastic.
Yes. Fun fact about me, I have over 180 nights on cruise ships. So I'm probably the youngest but most cruised person out there.
Awesome.
So Icon was iconic.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing.
That's over half a year.
Yeah. I'm going on another one. I'm going to Brazil in October on another cruise ship.
Okay.
I love cruising.
Yeah, really? Okay.
It is like my love.
What do you love about it? Like, just do you have to think about anything?
You don't have to think about
jump on?
anything.
Okay.
You can do nothing or you can do everything.
Okay.
And you get to see lots of different seaside ports and lots of cool culture anywhere you go. And it helps you learn. If you really want to lock yourself in to a week trip somewhere, because a week is precious, you're going to love it before you do it. So cruising helps me explore where I actually do land trips.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I love it.
I didn't know. That's awesome.
There you go.
Okay, so give us some AvidXchange stats. Give us what services you provide. Give a little explanation of what AvidXchange does, what service you provide to your clients, how many clients you have, how many transactions you process, just some the high-level fact sheet.
Yep. So AvidXchange been around since 2000. It was founded. We are accounts.
Has it been 24 years?
It sure has.
amazing.
We're celebrating 25
Wow.
in January. It's crazy. Yeah, we just celebrated 20. Now it's 25. But yeah, so accounts payable automation. So what does that mean? We automate the process of making purchase orders. So a buyer is buying something from a supplier. Supplier invoices. The invoices come onto our platform, and then we actually make the payment. And so what's very unique about Avid is not only does our technology handle the full end-to-end procure to pay process, we actually move the money behind the scenes as well. So we're a licensed money mover in the majority of all states across the nation, which is truly a differentiator when you talk about who we are versus others in the space. And then that affords us the opportunity to have high innovation around what we offer suppliers on the network. So we have a two-sided network. We have the buyers who are purchasing from the suppliers and the suppliers who are receiving the payments. And so we have product offerings that service both the buyer and the supplier. Supplier would be payment accelerator. So if you have terms of Net 45, but you need payment within 15 days because of cash flow questions, we have the ability to do that. So a lot of unique capabilities that we can actually bring to market to add value. And that's what we do.
Okay. So as an example of like a buyer supplier, this is the example I always use. You tell me if I'm right or wrong, but you have an apartment complex that is paying a painter or a landscaper or an electrician.
That's right. It's one business doing business with another business. It's B2B.
Okay.
And so when the buyer would be a business who needs a supply product or a service offering from a supplier, and then that's the exchange.
Okay. So about how many buyers do you have on the platform? How many suppliers?
I think we say around 8,000 plus currently, and we have over 1 million suppliers on the network, and it's growing every day.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And how many transactions or dollar volume go through? And it, I don't know, year, month, day?
Yeah, I should know that, Kevin. It's billions.
I looked it up on the website.
Thank you.
Yes.
You tell me. What is our published number? I should have looked at that.
75 million transactions processed in 2023.
Yes.
Which ends up being, if I just use business days, it's over 250,000 transactions per day.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And that was in 23. So
And that was in 23. 230 billion in spend under management in 2023.
in 23.
Yeah.
That's done nothing but grow since then.
And you're growing at what? 20, 30%?
We're growing pretty fast.
Yeah. So those are big numbers. When I typed that, I typed 230 million. And I'm like, well, backspace. Billion with a
Billion.
B. So you went IPO in 2021?
That's right.
Yeah. So you were a unicorn. AvidXchange was a unicorn in Charlotte before then, which is a $1 billion company that's still private, and then you went public.
Yep.
How has that transition been? That's got to be, just like us going into Sparq, that's got to be a transition for you as well.
Honestly, when you talk about just running the day-to-day, it's like, how are you getting funded? So are you getting funds through the private market? Or are you going through the public market? So obviously there's a lot more regulatory concerns when you're in a public-facing market, much more compliance, wrap around everything that you do, which is great, actually. I'm one that believes that actually fosters discipline.
Right.
And it actually produces excellence. So it's a forcing function to help you increase operational excellence. So I'm a proponent for that. Day-to-day doesn't really feel that much different, except for watching the stock price. Like, how are we valued today?
Right.
So as a shareholder, that's important to me. And it's also important that we're creating value for our shareholders. So that would be the daily value opportunity that you get to see move would be like the overhead stress personally. But when you run a business, you run a business, whether it's public or private.
And you've always been a money mover. So like you've always had that discipline of security and rigor and fail safes around your process anyway, because
That's
you're moving
right.
someone else's money.
That's right.
Okay.
So we're in a highly regulated industry. So, being public just is the next step.
Yeah. Sure. Great. Okay. And then some just awards. I looked on your site. You guys have won Forbes Cloud 100, Deloitte Technology Fast 500, and our local one, Charlotte Business Journal, Best Places to Work. So a lot of award-winning places to work. So great. That's awesome.
We have an amazing culture, amazing company. Great place to be. Public service announcement for anyone who is looking for a job out in the Charlotte market.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your origin story. So we met you, or at least I met you when you joined Avid. But you've been in Charlotte for some time now, and you kind of came up. I saw you were a developer in the very early days.
Yeah. So I didn't look for technology. Technology found me.
Okay.
So I grew up in a little town. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm actually going to start there. But don't worry. I'm not going from birth, okay? But
It's a log cabin.
The thing that's unique about my story is I grew up in a town that had 1,800 people. And I kind of floated around the Midwest. And, it was 1,800 predominantly, but then I lived in towns with 600 people. And then maybe it had 1,000 people. So I lived in a very rural part of the Midwest. And when you're in that type of environment, being raised in it, there's not a lot of pathways of success. You're either going to be a farmer or you're going to be in retail. Maybe you're going to, become a elementary school teacher. But your foresight to what's the art of the possible for your career, it's more limited because there's not a lot of things to witness. And so I randomly ran into a recruiter in college. I was working in a bar for, I was a cocktail waitress, doesn't really matter. But this recruiter came in and we had a conversation and she goes, I think that you could go into technology. Now, I was going to school to become a paralegal and I was in my last semester. And I'm like, no, I'm getting ready to graduate. I'm going to be a paralegal. It's done. Check the box.
Right.
And she goes, no, can you just give me 2 weeks And she goes, give me a 2-week contract. This is what you're going to get paid. And I was like, holy smokes, as a contractor who knows nothing, we'll train you, but we just need to deploy bodies on this client server migration. Okay. Yep. In a retail food chain in Chicago. So just give us 2 weeks. If you like it, it's a little company called EDS. And if you like it, we'll figure out a pathway for you to transition into this world of technology. And so I tried it out. And the rest is history. I actually was very successful on that.
What a turning point, right? In
this
your
experiment.
life.
Yeah. So wild experiment that turned into an incredible career opportunity.
Absolutely.
So literally pivoted, went to comp sci, started on a help desk, and then within 9 months I moved into engineering, and then was a programmer for probably 5 years, and then started to transition into leadership. And I always say I transitioned into leadership because I could communicate, and not a lot of engineers can communicate. Mm-hmm. That's a stereotype. I'm kidding, but
that's why we put Bill over on the AV machine.
Yeah, that's true. There's truth behind it.
Yeah, but so throughout my career, I've had the privilege of running every facet of technology. So whether it's data centers, business continuity, it doesn't really matter. Engineering, business analysts, all facets of an enterprise technology organization. Really just kind of led me to want to be a CIO. So I had my heart set on that. But before I didn't want to just be a CIO at some company. What I actually wanted to do was have like a hybrid role of building cool tech and also leading technology delivery. And so about 13 years ago, I pivoted out of traditional enterprise technology, meaning working for a retailer or a manufacturer running internal IT for them and building software that you can actually sell in the marketplace. And so that's what I've been doing for the past 13 years, and I absolutely love it.
Great.
That's
wow.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. And you also last year won an Orby Award?
I did.
Yeah, for CIO of the Year?
I did, yes.
Very impressive.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Now we've got the intros behind us. So gosh, we're 20 minutes in? We got intros behind us? 16 minutes in. All right. Okay, so now we're doing an icebreaker. All right, so you're in a payments company, and so we got 3 questions about payments. Now you will not expect to know any of these, so let's just have some fun with it.
Oh, no.
All right, so step 1, according to Alton Insights, I don't know what that is, but according to Alton Insights, what was the most expensive item ever sold that was not a building? All right, I'm going to give you a list of options here, okay? Okay, so one is artwork. So Salvator Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci. All right, that's step 1, is the painting.
I was going to say the Mona Lisa was going to be my guess.
I was going to say a statue of something.
Step 2, or B, sorry, A and B. So B is a 405-foot long giga yacht. So it's a yacht called giga yacht. It's a giga yacht called giga yacht.
Wow.
Okay, so that's 2. The third is a car, a 1955 Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR.
Okay.
Or a gem, the Pink Star, which is a 60-carat flawless gem. So of those, we got the artwork, we got the yacht, we got the car, and a gem. Which one was they had to shell out the most amount of money for? Make a payment for.
Say.
Don't look over my shoulder.
I'm not looking over your shoulder.
Cheater.
You go first, Denise.
I'm gonna, because the question is coming from Kevin.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's the car.
That's what I would.
Because he is such a car guy. He's gonna find a question that the answer is going to be a car.
You think I'd lead?
So I'm gonna
that
say
obvious?
I'm gonna say the car.
Yes.
That is so funny. And I was thinking I would never pay anything for a Mercedes. So
But this is like in 1955. This is a classic.
I have no idea how much a 1955 Mercedes costs, but I'm just going with the car because it's Kevin.
I love it. Well, I'm going to say the gem should be the most expensive. So I'm going to go with that.
The gem. Okay.
But it's not.
It's neither of those. It is the Salvator Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh.
Yeah,
Should have gone with my first instinct. The Mona Lisa.
$450 million for that painting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, that's almost $500 million, right?
That's insane.
The yacht was $168 million. The car was $142 million.
Oh
and
my.
the gem was only $71.
Oh,
which seems strange, right?
chump change.
Yeah. That's
Well, it gets heavy wearing it on your hand for all day.
Yeah, I know. What do you do with it, right? Well, what do you do with these things, right? But
My logic was sound, though.
Yes, it was.
Your logic was sound.
I thought it was solid.
Now there's an asterisk to all this. There was a yacht recently that was sold for a $4.8 billion, which is like 10 times the other yacht, but it was basically just covered in gold. Like that kind of doesn't count. Like I don't know. It was gold encrusted. It's 1/4 the size, but just covered in gold. You're like, well, you're just buying gold. What you're doing, so I didn't count that one.
Yeah.
All right, next one. According to USA Today, actually a source that I do know, what's the most expensive thing ever made? So not purchased, but made. I bet they had a lot of purchase orders as they were making these things. So one is the, I have to pronounce this correctly, Itaipu? Itaipu. It's a hydroelectric dam.
Oh, wow.
It's in between Brazil and Paraguay on the Paraná River. It was built in 71 to 84, so we're adjusting for inflation. All right, so that dam. The next, the International Space Station. I think you're all familiar with the International Space Station, right? How much did it cost to build the International Space Station? And the third is the Great Mosque of Mecca. So what of those three things cost the most to build? The dam, the space station, the Great Mosque of Mecca.
The Great Mosque of Mecca.
I want to say
Denise?
the International Space Station. We're both wrong again.
Because you have to get up to space, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is actually the space station, but not by much from the mosque. So the space station created what was $150 billion to develop and build and deploy.
Okay, so I guessed that one.
You guessed that one. You got it.
Because-
is the sound machine on? Is the soundboard there? Get some claps. Okay.
But I used the same logic because he likes airplanes too.
Well, that was a fortuitous one. Yes, my son is a rocket scientist. So.
Yes.
But the dam itself was $77 billion, and then the Great Mosque of Mecca is $120 billion.
It's insane.
It's not just a building, right? It's really complex.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But think of the space station. We had to get
gotta
into
get it
space.
into
It's
space.
150, and the mosque is only 120. That's pretty close.
It
Yeah.
is.
And you didn't have to go anywhere. I mean, besides the middle of a desert. But okay. All right. Third question. Just yesterday, you may have seen this in the news. Sotheby's broke a record for selling something for $45 million to Ken Griffin, the billionaire owner of Citadel Hedge Fund.
Not the baseball player.
That's Junior.
Could be seen.
What did Ken Griffin buy? Did he buy A, the painting titled Girl with Pearl Earring by Dutch master Johannes Vermeer?
I at least know what that is.
Yeah, you know that, right?
Yeah.
She's kind of turned to the side, right? The actual Rosetta Stone that dated from the time of Ptolemy V, discovered by Napoleon's army in the early 1800s in Egypt, that was instrumental in deciphering the riddle of hieroglyphics.
Ooh.
Wow.
Or C, 150 million year old, nearly complete Stegosaurus skeleton named Apex.
Oh, gosh.
Someone's got to write a check for this, right?
Do you think you bought the
So
Rosetta Stone?
the painting, the Rosetta Stone,
The Rosetta Stone.
or the Stegosaurus? Rosetta Stone we got?
I'm going to
Yeah.
say the painting.
painting?
The girl with the pearl earring. Can't imagine the Rosetta Stone being for sale.
It's not for sale. It's in the museum in Egypt.
Okay, so there you go.
It's the Stegosaurus.
Really?
Oh.
Ken Griffin yesterday paid $445 million for a skeleton.
Why?
I don't know. You
I
put it in your
know.
living room?
Yeah,
It's
where
like
does
a
this thing
fully
going?
giant thing.
He's going to put it up on the space station.
So the 150 million year old dinosaur named Apex, nicknamed Apex, was only expected to sell for up to $6 million. And it sold for
Wow.
45.
That's insane.
Yeah. And it surpassed the 32 million paid over 4 years ago for someone in Abu Dhabi for a Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton.
Hey, it's good to see those geology departments are going to get funded now.
Oh,
That's right.
Yeah, they will, right? Can you imagine that? What do you
Yeah.
do with it? I guess you just gift it back to a museum. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
You put it in your kid's bedroom and scare the bejesus out of them.
All right. So I'm sure that we would love to have those payments flowing through AvidXchange,
Yes.
right? Those
There you
are
go.
good payments to have. But okay. All right. Icebreaker aside, hopefully we've had a little fun there. So let's dive deeper now in the conversation. In our prep meeting, we were talking about how you are changing the way you do technology and maybe even the entire company using AI over at AvidXchange. So give us a little bit of information on that and we'll chime in as we know stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys know more than I know, but yeah, pipe in. So I think the biggest question is how much is hype around AI? So what is the true value creation opportunity? And what can we do at AvidXchange to harness and, reach the value at an optimum level? And the first question it starts with, is the talent actually ready to leverage AI? And for us, it's a mixed answer. Some, you have your leaders, of course, and this is typical with any emergent technology, right? You have the people who are leading out front, they're adopting it, they have tons of use cases and they're creating value and you can touch it, see it, and it's, going straight back in to do more cool, innovative things at Avid. Then you have people that are maybe just kind of playing around once in a while, but they haven't really made it a part of their day job, meaning AI is not a consistent tool in the tool belt. And so the muscle's not there. Mm-hmm. And then you have the people who are just resistant to it, or they think that they have time and they can learn it next year, or it's a thing that they're not being bothered with. Mm-hmm. And so the reality is that if we're not jumping on the bandwagon, people are just going to be outskilled. And, it's going to start to become the dinosaurs. So if you're not...
A $45 million dinosaur?
No. 45 million. Exactly.
Who could be topical?
Actually, probably 45 cents.
Yes.
But, so the point is how do we start to level the playing field to meet all the teammates where they're at, to help them skill up, to make AI just a daily part of their role? And so we've put a mandate out there. We've created a very specific curated IA enablement program that the teammates are going through as we speak. And they're going to complete that training in Q3. Mm-hmm. And then it's every teammate has to have a measurable goal to say, how am I going to create value back to the organization that we can then manage? So how we manage it is kind of the hardest part, right? Because a lot of this is opportunity costs that you're creating back for the company. It's easier when you're doing revenue generation or you're actually solving hard unit costs for scale. Mm-hmm. But some of it's nebulous. I get 30% back of my day.
Right.
Well, how do I know that I got 30% back of my day? And am I actually redeploying that on more work so I can create more value? And so that's where we're leaning into right now. Well, how do we actually measure it? And so we have lots of different tools in place just to start to enable AI across every role in the organization. Whether you're in technology or in the business, it doesn't really matter where you sit. We're enabling everyone to be AI first minded. So we're leading out of the gate, solutioning problems with an AI first mindset. So that's a little taste of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We can relate to all of that internally. I mean, like you said, the three different levels of people. Some people just take to it like a duck to water. In fact, we've had many of our analysts who are not developers by trade jump into it, and now they look and smell like developers because they just are excited to learn about it and apply it, right? We've got a few in your organization, Denise.
Yeah, they're the ones who seem to embrace it. And what else can I do? What else can I do? What else can, and they've started to actually build some applications that and do things that they couldn't do before.
Well, it's so funny because I actually invited you all into a technology all hands meeting, and you showcased to the team some of the really cool things that you're doing here at Kingsmen. And then also you showed some external use cases. What are other companies out there doing? Mm-hmm. And I got a really mixed reaction from my team. Some of it was like, wow, that's really cool. How do we learn more? Some of my team was, well, I don't really see how that actually connects to Avid. That's more of a Kingsman thing, or that's like a Microsoft thing. But turning it into like the ideation of curiosity to say, how can I just take what I just saw and create internal use cases? Some people didn't make that full connection. Mm-hmm. And some people almost, these are my words, but it felt like there was mass resistance to it.
Sure.
Maybe even fear, like, oh, this thing, is it truly going to sunset an engineer? And so taking all of that, we actually did a follow-up. So we did a second all hands within a week. And we brought in, to your point, we brought in business users who actually, on their own, learned the AI toolkits and created real value that we're starting to put into the customer's hands. So just simple use cases that a customer can now self-service themselves for different, customer care questions.
Yep.
They can now self-service on their own without having to go through our customer care line. And those solutions are actually coming from business folks. They are learning the tools. They're understanding how to deploy it. We're supporting them, of course, from a technology organization perspective. But when you bring the business to tech and say, look what your business users are doing, it's literally a mindset shift immediately.
Sure.
People feel the urgency that you need to get on the train because the train's left the station.
Yeah. That's the same thing with our analysts, right? Our analysts don't have the muscle memory that our engineers do. Our engineers, like, this is how we've always built software. This is the way we do it. And the analysts have not been able to build software because they don't know the language, or they've not taken classes or have a degree in that, things along those lines. But all of a sudden, this now enables them to go build software. Now, they're not the best software engineers, but nonetheless, it allows them that capability to go do that. And then once they get into it and they start learning and they start making it better, they're not having to undo their muscle memory. They're creating muscle memory. And that's pretty neat. Especially, a lot of our analysts have done that.
Yeah, and they're not afraid to mess up. They're not afraid to get it wrong
because they have low expectations.
Yeah.
Right. No one's expecting them to write code, and if they can,
well, they're not expected to be the expert.
Yeah.
And so any value that they're creating, it's like magnified.
Yeah, it's not a threat to them.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's a great way to say it. It's not a threat to them. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're trying to also do is just get the mindset, not about, directly connected to the fear of the change of what this is implying, but just like you went from manual, grid paper to Excel. Think about that shift, and then to accounting systems, et cetera. You don't have a general ledger book. You go to actually commercial technology. There's always the evolution of shifting technology. So do we believe that AI is going to replace all jobs? I don't subscribe to that philosophy. I think it's a value creator. There's going to be more opportunity. But then, like, our why statement. Why is it so critical? Not just because the market is moving that way and we believe there's value creation. Why do we actually want to do this push to adopt AI? Because we fundamentally believe that we can truly create a better experience, accelerated to our customer. So we have this goal. It's a customer-obsessed mindset, customer-obsessed goal. And if you really start to think about every teammate in any business who can start to associate customer obsession and how do I really think about solving my customer problems with something that can accelerate like AI, it's really a different conversation. And so we approach our engineers as an example. How might you proactively go find, maybe a code concern in our source code on our platform that we're not going to wait for the telemetry to tell us that there's a problem, but Copilot can tell you that you have weak links in your code.
Right.
So getting them to think about find problems before the customer finds it or before the system telemetry is telling us, like, let's be customer obsessed and leverage this technology to accelerate our own analysis on various aspects of our roles.
We have found that, to your point about people being resistant, is those small little use cases start adding up and adding up and adding up. But it's a little bit like you have to rip the Band-Aid off, or the journey of 1,000 steps starts, or 1,000 miles starts with one step. Like, okay, go do this, and then go do this, and then go do this, and all of a sudden, those things in the rearview mirror look easy. Like, oh, now they're just part of what I do on a daily basis, right? And so, part of the scary thing we found with our clients with AI is some of these use cases look so fantastical. I can't make the leap from where I am right now to the fantastical. But you give some mundane things along the way. Copilot, GitHub Copilot can help you write some code. Things like Vercel V0 can help you make some screens. And you just use these little things and you keep getting better and keep getting better. And now, we're looking back to some of the things we did 18 months ago, 12 months ago, 6 months ago, and say, oh, that's a snoozer. Of course we can do that. Of course I could create a 5-page term paper on the home and transfers in outer space. Duh. But when you did the first time, you're like, oh my God, it's amazing. But now you're like, oh, snoozer. And so all the new stuff that comes out, to someone that's not really been paying attention to it, that looks like light years ahead.
Yeah.
And so just by saying, let's use this here, let's use it the next step, then people start absorbing it into their day to day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One step at a time.
But then there's the quantum leaps that occur, and I don't mean from fantastical use cases, but I mean like if I can do all these things now I'm starting to rethink how I might actually work.
Exactly.
How I might build software in the first place. If I can have analysts go not only just draw a screen for me, but they can actually hand over HTML code that uses our design patterns, like our UX design patterns and our color palette, and I can just hand that to a developer to wire up in the back end, I'm shifting a lot of that development work left towards my business analysts and technical analysts. All of a sudden you start changing how you might build software, right? So have you started looking at how your organization would just work differently?
So we have. We're, I would say, early in it. So there's 3 parts of AI that we always think about. There's the AI as far as the capabilities we're building in the products that we put into our customers' hands.
Right.
And so I call that critical decision making. So typically where a human being would be making a decision, you're going to use AI for the machine to make the decision for you. And so we have a product called AvidCapture. And it goes and it gets all the data off of a static invoice, critical to pay data, pulls it off. It knows how to index it automatically. And so you're improving speed of processing invoices, you're lowering your error defect rates, et cetera. But it's all AI driven. And the machine, again, is making the decision of what is the critical to pay data on that invoice. Then we have how do I use AI to increase productivity, which is really some of what we just talked about. And then also, how does it start to change the way that we're working? So that's one part. And then the last part is how do I just offload workloads to an AI capability? So AI is another form of automation. It's an automation capability. Yep. So those are kind of the 3 ways that we look at it. We have actually taken AI. So when you think about front ends, we just auto create now. And so what used to take a person to even design, we're to the point where we can even automate that workload. So yes, we're doing role refinement as we're looking at how we're getting work done, but then we're also saying, well, can we just automate it? Can we take that next step? Is the AI there to just automate this piece of the creation process? So yeah, we're definitely seeing those benefits on our next generation front ends that we've built in the last 10 months specifically. They're now being like next to auto-generated.
And there's a lot of your time saving right there, and you don't have a relatively expensive, I'm using that term loosely, engineer that's doing the same rote task over and over and over again.
That's right.
You can get them on something that's more meaningful.
Yep.
Like looking for those aspects where you can improve the client experience,
right?
Versus I need to wire up the screen.
And it's really like, where do we need our teammates making critical decisions versus where can the machine make critical decisions, or where do we need critical work done, or where can the machine do the critical work? And that's it's just a whole nother. And we've been asking ourselves that question since technology hit the market, right? But it's just a whole nother dynamic because we're automating so much of what used to take, a person to do.
Yeah. Right. So that's a very people intensive right now, like your invoice, like looking at your invoices and scanning and indexing it and getting your critical pay data out of it. And so that's a big cost savings opportunity. Are there other, it's a loaded question because I actually have some ideas. So some of the projects we worked on, other areas where we could leverage AI, I think of like the where you're reconciling all your payments. So you're taking funds from the buyer in batch mode for payment requests, and then you put it in a trust account, and then you are distributing those funds to suppliers through various modalities, whether it's virtual credit cards or ACH or checks or things along those lines. You're taking fees potentially in those scenarios, and all that payments are going everywhere, right? And invariably something gets
Having flashbacks.
Yeah, I know. I remember bringing it back. Something goes bump in the night, and something went wrong. A check gets returned, or an ACH is the wrong routing number, or something like that. And so Treasury spent a lot of time on that. And to a certain extent, the reconciliation says, "I can't find it," and says, "You go find it, human, Mr. Human, go find it."
Yep.
But it seems like there's a use case to go look for scenarios like that not only can I find where that missing transaction went, but also identify where that transaction failed and why it failed. And I don't want to say self-healing because it's probably a bridge too far right now, but going back to whatever group and saying, hey, this is where we think it failed. Can you look into that spot in the code and figure out if there can be some defect correction in there?
Yeah, so that's exactly the mindset that we're starting to approach some of the more complex workflows in our systems. So it's not far-fetched. It's actually...
It's not far-fetched, right? Yeah.
Very doable. I think one of the biggest things that was maybe slowing us down was having the infrastructure. Like, you don't want to use a lot of public-facing tools, obviously. Mm-hmm. You can't just be putting private data in a public offering. Right. And so we had to have the private infrastructure to actually handle AI. So we've successfully stood that up this year. And so now this is where it's like, okay, you can open up the floodgate of all the different possibilities. And one of the ways that we actually stood up the AI function at Avid, it's more like an AI center of excellence. And then having each business leader, self-identify opportunities to leverage AI and really get after it. And we've made great progress with that. But I think we really probably we're at an intersection right now where we're going to have to think probably a little bit differently. Like, do we actually create a dedicated AI capability in the organization to go look at those critical workflows to start to accelerate value creation, not just internal for scale, but out to the customer, right? Improving the customer experience, even on those critical workflows that you just described, that's in the backend plumbing, if you will. Yeah. If any of that goes bump, it's a customer experience issue. Right. And so none of that needs to go bump. And so the more intelligence that we can put in and around critical to pay processes, the better we are.
Right.
The better experience our customers have.
I like that approach that whoever is running your AI center of excellence or that AI cross-cutting concern, they know what's possible, what's not possible, and what is possible, where it's good, where it's not good, and they can go into an organization, any group within your organization, and look at their process and identify where you could use AI, where they might be so close to it.
Yep.
We've always done it this way, and they don't know what's possible with AI, and so getting a fresh look by someone that says, here are all the capabilities that are available to us. Yep. How can we find some value creation in there?
Yeah, so I think it's, it used to be that we had like a 2-layer roadmap in technology. You would have, what's the business strategy roadmap? What does the business need to be successful? And what's the underpinning technology delivery roadmap that's going to enable it? Could be a product roadmap, just whatever is the technology delivery component. There's now a middle layer that we're starting to kind of put in between the business and tech, is to say, what actually, from an AI perspective, can be used to accelerate the business strategy roadmap before we even think about like the purest technology roadmap, if you will.
Yeah. So let me give you an example. We had a client come in, and they are experts at call centers. Think of like an airline or something like that. And they came in and said, hey, we want to talk about using AI. We want to create an agent bot, not a customer-facing bot, just an agent bot that could provide, if you call up because your flight was canceled and you're talking to an airline agent, they could go to that bot and say, well, what's the cancellation policy, or how do I cancel this in the system, or things along those lines. Because these agents, there's a lot of turnover, and it takes 2 or 3 months for them to become really proficient so they can talk on the phone on their own. And so how do they get them proficient earlier, and how to provide a better customer experience by getting it right?
Yeah.
Because we always think that if I talk to a human, I'll get it right. Well, you don't always get it right when you talk to a human. So they came in with this one specific use case. I want an agent-facing, text-based bot that can help us with like policies of what's our cancellation policy. And after the course of a couple of brainstorming sessions, we got into, well, if you could include your airline's policy for cancellations, you include your FAA requirements as to what you're allowed and not allowed to do. If there is weather cancellation, what do you do? If it was a mechanical issue, what do you do? And then you also include the actual system processes as to how you actually do that in the system. All of a sudden you have a much better agent bot. But then why have the agent have to type all this stuff in? Why not just use speech to text to have the bot listen to the phone call, what's going on, and then the bot could speak to the agent in their earpiece to explain what's going on or bring it up on the screen or something like that. And they're like, well, what if you also included sentiment analysis? You could listen to how the customer is irate and what tips this might talk them down from the ledge.
That's right.
And all of a sudden, this agent becomes really, really good. And then do you want to ever introduce that to the customer? Like, oh no, never introduce the customer, at least not at this stage. I'm like, okay, so I get it. Customers, you need to be very careful with how you address your customers. But what if you had 1,000 people on the phone and you had 10 agents because there's a big storm on the East Coast? Do you think a person would want to talk to a bot at that point in time if they were that good? Like, yeah, maybe. Okay, so let's put now this text-to-speech, speech-to-text on the bot, give it to the customer, and have them opt in. You are number 138th in line. Well, we can call you back in 20 minutes if you want, or you can talk to a bot agent if you want. Optional. So you can opt in. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, let's put avatars on. You saw the avatar that I did, a couple weeks ago. So let's put avatars on it. And now it's more real time. And so all of a sudden you can be on your phone talking to someone that looks like an agent and you're talking back and forth in real time. And you're like, now maybe that's not doable today. Okay. But that's not science fiction anymore.
That far.
No,
right? That is 6 months or 12 months if you think about it. Mm-hmm. And so I was talking with another company as a wealth manager.
Hold on a second. You just said something and it's like double click on it. It's not far off. 6 to 12 months.
Start out of now, right?
It's now. And if you think about where we were a year ago,
I know.
Did you ever think we'd be where we're at
Never.
right now?
Zero.
And so
Zero chance.
That's like, go ahead. Sorry. Just super highlight.
Yeah.
So I was talking with the wealth manager and like, oh, well, we need to give a bot to our wealth managers because wealth managers, they make so much money and their time is so expensive. And I'm like, why do you need wealth managers? Why not just hire Dave Ramsey's name and likeness? Give him royalties for his name and likeness and the way he does all his financial planning and take everything I just said from a airline and make it wealth management, certified financial planner background, things like that. And now all of a sudden you can give every one of your clients Dave Ramsey's as their personal wealth manager.
It's incredible.
And that is, the technology is probably not quite there from a real-time standpoint, conversational standpoint, but it's also the rate of change that everything is happening. That's not more than a year away.
Yeah.
And so do you want to wait till the technology is available or you want to start working on those things now? So we have found with a lot of our clients that the point of my long monologue here was most of our clients come in with basic use cases. And when we impact their business value chain and we draw out where we can use AI and we remove a lot of those barriers, we can't do this now, we can't do this now. What if you could do all that now? Just put those aside and we'll bring them back in a second. All of a sudden they come up with these great thought processes and long-term plans, which end up being short-term, near-term plans. And so I love the idea of you having some AI experts that are internal, that go in through all your business values and start rethinking how they do things as opposed to getting incremental change, getting evolving, getting the revolutionary change.
Look at all those processes and how can they totally change, not just automate them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't pave the cow path, as I keep hearing. Yeah.
You don't keep hearing that. You keep saying that.
I keep saying it. Well, if I say it and then I listen to it, then I keep hearing it. I read it somewhere. I wrote it down in my notebook and then I read it.
And it's very interesting to me that you're doing this not only on a technology side, but company-wide, because if you only did it technology, you're only getting half the value.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, we say with security, cybersecurity, it's everyone's job, just not the cybersecurity department. Same thing with AI. Absolutely. AI is everyone's job. Like every single person, I believe that every single person needs to understand technology to be successful today. And you'll see like the people who really rise to the top in larger organizations are those that understand technology. Those that kind of just float in large companies are those that really don't have the technical edge, the technical skill. Same thing is true for AI. Every single person is going to have to understand they need AI in their tool belt. So it's either going to be a blockbuster moment for their skill contribution, or it's a game changer. You can start to be the ninjas.
So can I pull the thread on that just a little bit? Because you said that when you first had this conversation, some were all in, ready to go. Others were a little meh. And then you had the group that was not so interested.
Exactly. Meh.
Sorry, Kevin. Meh,
I trademarked meh, so you have to pay me a royalty now.
What are you doing? Are you doing anything to have those that are really gung-ho, ready to go, helping some of the others along?
Yeah, so they're actually a part of our AI Center of Excellence. So they can connect into that group. They can learn from them. They evangelize. So they're already those people who are ahead of the curve are identifying opportunities for other people. Okay. And so it's almost organically starting to spread. And so those who aren't engaging are already feeling that tension. Good. So it's a natural intersection point.
Hopefully that's going to help them want to get there.
Yeah. And, just the reality, and I've said this to my team, it's not an option. You're either going to prove in a quarter that you're understanding what AI can do for your role and demonstrate value creation, or, we're probably having different conversations. It's a mandatory skill in today's world.
Yeah.
That's refreshing because a lot of our clients, large organizations, publicly traded, when they do investor calls, the executives are saying, we're using AI and we're looking at AI and it's great. And since I'm on their email systems, I get an email the next day that says, you better not be using AI because, all these things are blocked. And, we need to make sure we understand what all these public, ChatGPT and Claude and whatnot, Llama, what they're doing. And so we need to go at that slowly, which I can completely understand. But one side is saying, we're doubling down on AI, and another side they're saying, don't use it. And I love the fact that you're upskilling your team all across, like from not just your team or your technology team, but the entire company. You're upskilling the entire company.
Yeah. So we're starting with technology first. This is, the next quarter, and then it's going to go through the business. But this is the deal. So I couldn't have made that sort of declaration even 2 quarters ago because we didn't have a set of tools that were authorized by our legal, our compliance, security. But now we have our own internal tools that are in our network that we can control, obviously make sure our data is secured, we're protecting the privacy of it, et cetera. That wasn't a true statement 6 months ago. So there's no way I could just throw out an expectation that you're going to start to use some of these tools because I would be declaring that you're going to go put our stuff in the public atmosphere, which no one wants. And so now that we've kind of laid the foundation over the last 2 quarters, we are in a position to understand, again, if it's AI hype or are we going to create some value.
Right. I like when we were part of your town hall, your all hands meeting, where you were showing how you rolled out Microsoft Copilot to a pilot group of people. Copilot pilot? It's a Copilot pilot. Yes. Yep, I did there.
You got to have both.
Copilot squared. But the point is, not only did you roll it out to people, but you also solicited their feedback, right? Is this helping? Is this not helping? And you got some great responses from people, right? Yeah. And it's just kind of Copilot, right? Summarizes conversation, or I was out for a week on the icon of the seas, summarize all the what happened when I was gone, those kind of things, or help me write a PowerPoint, or help me write a lengthy email or a Word doc or something like that. But that was great. Those are easy wins, right? And not only were they easy wins, but now you have a whole bunch of advocates that are out in the business, right? Yeah, that was a pretty neat. I was very happy to hear that in that all hands meeting.
Yeah, so we're super big on partnerships. So we don't want to just do something to our teammates. We want inclusion, and we want them to feel like they're a part of the process. So yeah, there's a lot of hype around Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Right. Yeah. I heard that Mike Prigger kind of was out in Seattle somewhere talking to the Microsoft folks.
Yes, he was. Yeah. And he came back eager and said, we're not moving fast enough on AI. Let's go.
Okay.
And he also, he heard the pilot was going on for Copilot, and he goes, why don't I have a license to this thing? I need to be a part of the pilot. So just his enthusiasm is there.
Everybody needs to know.
Everyone needs to know.
He got everyone.
He got some good VIP treatment over in Seattle, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
That was good.
Yes.
Nice. Okay. let's see. So you mentioned, I was mentioning earlier about how you could leverage AI in your reconciliation process. But another thought that I had in your master data management process, these are things that we're familiar with pretty intently.
Yes.
But when a buyer, these are just scenarios I want. If we can't talk about them, you let me know. But when a buyer submits a payment to a supplier, this apartment complex is paying this, Joe's Landscaping. When those come in, you're like, well, do we know Joe's Landscaping? Is that a supplier we've already seen in the past? You look at the address, and you're like, oh, it's the same address. It's probably the same person. But you never quite know. Sometimes it's an exact match. You're like, that's great. And then sometimes it's pretty close. They said street versus ST. But when you're not quite sure, then it goes to a data steward to go kind of look at and make an adjudication. But AI these days can do some of that semantic search. So if someone types in Joe's Landscaping, it's really Joe's Lawn Service. Then it can make those sort of like, this is probably it. I'm going to present it to a data steward and saying, you should probably match these two. Or if it's Joseph's Lawn Service versus Joe's Landscaping, you're like, oh, these probably match those semantic searches. So that's another AID for you to noodle on.
You know what I think? When we publish our roadmaps in the future that have AI strategy baked in, I think you're going to be super excited.
Okay. Oh,
so we actually haven't shared what those are yet.
I just read between the lines that you've already got that handled.
I'm not in a place where I can share all the goodness that's coming.
Okay.
But there's a lot of goodness coming with AI in our product offerings.
Okay. Well, that was just my independent thought.
I love your independent thought.
No internal knowledge of it all. So
I'm going to take that back to the team. I like that idea.
Cool. Well, we also, as we did that all hands meeting, we had a couple people come to us afterwards and say, I would love to learn more about some of the wild use cases. This is a shameless plug, just so you're clear, for Kingsmen. Now a Sparq company. Just keep saying that. But we have, what are we up to now, Bill? 50 demos? Over 50 demos?
Yeah, it's close. It's a lot.
We have a lot.
Depending upon what you want to see. Do you want to see how you can use AI in software development? Do you want to use AI in creating chatbots, in just using LLMs, in voice to text, text to speech, that kind of thing? So we had a couple people come to us afterwards and say, I don't know what is out there. I don't know all the breadth of things. I have ideas in my head, but I have to do a whole bunch of research. Could you come in for an hour or two and show my team some demos and make it a very fluid conversation? Like if we wanted to go create this, do you have a demo to go do this, to do document ingestion, to do avatars or things along those lines? So I'm offering that to you and all our listeners, our tens of listeners.
Good job, Kim.
We're happy to do that. A, it's kind of fun in our regard, and B, it helps us understand where people's brains are and what they're interested in learning about. It gives us a little bit of practice as well. So I'm throwing out there to you and all your teams, if you want an hour or two personalized demo, we just kind of like around the table and we can just share some.
Are you guys participating in the community hackathon that we're doing?
No,
we're not.
Oh,
okay.
I bet some of our teams would love to do that.
Okay,
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
it's in October. Don't know all the details in this moment, but I think you need to get connected there.
That's where a lot of our demos have come from.
That's awesome.
So like once a quarter, we do each team does kind of their own hackathon, and that's where a lot of our demos come in. And we have like a listing. Listing is not a great term.
We have an AI council that comes up with various ideas based on what they're hearing across the industry, things that are interesting to them, and they present the ideas that the council has come up with to the various teams, and then they work on them during their week hackathon.
That's so cool.
It's like a goldfish bowl. You walk in, you pull out a sheet of paper, and you open it up. You're like, oh, go do this.
Oh, that's cool.
Go figure out the value of homes just by taking a photo of them. Like, oh, interesting.
And then how do I increase the value of that home?
Or how do I increase the value of the home? If I were to do new landscaping, what kind of value would that add to it?
So good.
Yeah, and a lot of things like that.
A lot of fun.
Marshmealy, how are we doing on time? You didn't nudge me.
Oh, it's under an hour.
We're 15. We're trying 45. All right, so you got me talking. You got me
Remember he
monologuing
said,
again.
I'm going to try for 45 and it'll end up an hour.
Well, why don't we? You should tell me to wrap it up.
Oh, I thought we were going for an hour.
at the max.
Well, you have 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Well, Angelique, it was great to have you on the show. Angelique, thanks for joining us. This has been great. I know that you have a very busy schedule. Also, being a public company, it's harder for you to have these kind of sort of open conversations. And you're also just highly sought after in the community to have these kind of things. So I really appreciate you joining us.
Well, you guys are a great partner. Really appreciate our partnership, the value that you create for AvidXchange, our teams. So thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks to Bill Clarisi as our sound and video engineer. Thank you to Rashmili Vamula for our marketing support of the podcast on LinkedIn and other channels. And thanks to you. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Kingsman's Beyond the Build podcast, where we showcase interesting innovators from the Charlotte area. And until the next podcast, go build something awesome.